The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you on this day, April 8th. And this is a big day and we're going to talk about why. We're remembering a bunch of things today. But we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours and we're going to be talking about a variety of different subjects having to do with autism and autism spectrum disorder. This entire show is meant to be interactive, and we hope that you will participate with us. It's a great spring morning. This is April Autism fill-in-the-blank month, right? We have Autism Awareness Month, we have Autism Action Month, and we have Autism Acceptance Month. And I think when you, I think of it as the 4 A's: autism, acceptance, action, and awareness. We need all of those things, right? So we're going to be talking about those and ever so much more. But as I said, this show is meant to be interactive. We hope that you will participate with us. And Emily's going to show you some of the different ways in which you can do that. I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, you have the ability to do a bunch of different things. You can check out our blog. By the way, we have a meditation on there, a free meditation you can download if you're feeling overwhelmed, like a lot of us. You can also click on, there's a computer screen there. Click on the triangle on the computer screen, and you can be watching the live show if it's the correct time of day, or the most recently recorded live show. Now, I always say that at the start of the show, and somebody said to me the other day, why are you bothering to tell us that? Because if we're here and we can't figure that out, then we have no way of seeing you do that. But there are lots of other places that you can watch the show, and so that's why I tell people, if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to go to the live page, or you're watching us on Roku and you want to go and see us on the live page, right? Lots of different ways in which you can do this. But when you're on the live page too, here's the other perk, because you can watch the show in those other places, right? But the other perk of being on the home page is that there's that instant gratification toolbar there. Basically what you do, there's a white box, you put your cursor there and you start typing and you hit enter and it will appear here on my screen. That box is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, barring unforeseen problems, right? And so you guys get to write things in, even if we're not live. I was just scrolling through some of the things that you guys wrote in over the weekend, and we get to ask questions of our experts. You guys have already been writing in questions for Eustacia Cutler, who's going to be with us a week from today. You guys have been writing in questions for Dr. Doreen Granpeche, who's going to be here tomorrow. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get your questions answered. It's totally free. There's no login. We don't know who you are, so unless you give us an address or to mail something, snail mail or email, we don't have a way of getting in touch with you, but we can answer your questions here on the show. If you do want something mailed to you that's specific or private or whatever that requires, you know, like a study, and you want to have the actual thing, then you do need to give us some information. We won't share it with anybody. So we appreciate you for being here. You may notice I've got something written on my hand. If you're new to the show and just tuning in, I've been writing this on my hand for every show this month because we've got a campaign that's coming up on April 23rd. We're asking all of you to join us in writing CAN somewhere on your hand. Now, this has lots of different meanings because it reminds us that we can, right? But it also stands for Coverage for Autism Now. We want to stand in solidarity with all of those families that are out there that don't yet have autism insurance. We've been hearing from a lot of legislators that, well, you know, what do you want from us? We did reform and, we did the Affordable Care Act. Aren't you people happy? But the problem is that they don't know that a lot of people are still falling through the cracks. There are people who lost their funding, that had ABA coverage here in the state of California, which tends to be one of the best states. Honestly, we have to thank our legislators for what they do. But one of the things that happened with all this Affordable Care Act is that our Medi-Cal families that had coverage under Medi-Cal, under it was called Healthy Families Act, that was all taken away. They were told that they would get ABA coverage down the road. It hasn't happened. So these kids had the therapy and then lost it. I can't even imagine how devastating that would be to a family. So we want to stand in solidarity with them. But what about the families that they have self-funded insurance plans all over the country that the employer is not choosing not to cover it, and they're outside of the reform law, so they can? What about those families that they got the coverage, they're excited, and then they find out that they have to pay $6,000 before their insurance kicks in because that's what their copay and deductible is? We need to stand in solidarity with those families and let our legislators know we're not done. We are by no means done. So on April 23rd, we're asking all of you, if you don't want to write on your hand, you don't want to write on your child's hand, I get it. Write it on a t-shirt, write it on a hat, but somewhere on your person can take a picture of it, post it to our Facebook site, because we want to put up a bunch of pictures of people and send them to legislators to say, look, we're here and we're standing in solidarity on this. We may not agree on everything, right? This is the autism community. We're not going to agree on everything, but we'll agree that we need to level this playing field, and we can, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what that's about, and you'll see it on my hand, and you'll see it, last Wednesday it was on my forehead. I don't know where it's going to be tomorrow when Nancy Alspaugh Jackson shows up, but we hope that you'll participate with us and post your pictures. April 23rd, don't forget. And don't just post the picture. People are going to ask you, okay, why do you have CAN written on your hand? Why do you have CAN written on your forehead, right? And that's a perfect opportunity to say to people, because autism is an important subject and we need to get coverage for autism now and for everybody. All right, so that's my little spiel on that. But hey, I always like to remind you at the start of the show that we have a bunch of different experts that are here on the show. I'm not one of them. I'm a parent. That's my deal here. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and my son did get coverage for autism. By the time he was 3 years and 2 weeks old, he started getting the best quality ABA therapy, and it's made all the difference. And that's what I'm about. I want to make sure that you can get access to that. And that if you're a parent, that you're not having to pace the floor figuring out how that's going to happen. I want to help you to make it happen. If you are a teacher, I want to help you to get educated so that you know how to be in the classroom and help our kids to make the ultimate amount of progress that they can. They're all different. This is not a cookie cutter situation, right? But they can all make progress. And if you yourself are on the autism spectrum, we welcome you too, because we want to hear from you. We need to be informed. We need to see the path clearly. So all of those things and ever so much more. Very excited to be here today. We like to start every morning with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to make sense of it. What are we talking about? What are the experts talking about? What does this mean in our everyday lives? So I can't believe it, but I guess we've never defined this before. Our acronym for today is IDEA. It's lovely to have a good idea, right? But this has some special meaning to those of us who have kids that are a little bit on the special side, right? So let's take a look at our actual definition. IDEA stands for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That's the idea, right? It's a United States federal law that governs how states and public agencies provide early intervention, special education, and related services to children with disabilities. And that definition is coming to us straight from Wikipedia. That's how they're defining it. Okay, so let's take a little bit more specific. Why is this important to us? For our working definition, we want to specifically talk about IDEA as of 2004, because something happened in 2004. In 2004, Congress further defined the purpose of IDEA. It now reads, to ensure that all children with disabilities have available to them a free, appropriate public education, free, appropriate public education, which you'll hear people talk about FAPE, F-A-P-E, that's what that stands for, free appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services designed to meet their unique needs and prepare them, here comes the big part, for further education, employment, and independent living. Okay. And that's directly off of the idea.ed.gov page. And by the way, you should go there and check that page out. It's full of great information. But these are the tools that, because we're gearing up for IEP season, right? These are the tools that you need to have in your back pocket. Having an understanding of just what's on this page is the difference of getting what you want in an IEP or not, a lot of the time. So that free, appropriate public education. Before 2004, there were a lot of families that if they had a child who had autism or had some other special need, you know, it was sketchy about whether they actually had to find a way to educate your child. A lot of times schools would say, we can't deal with your child here, so you have to go find someplace else. And parents who didn't have the money to afford that were just, you know, really in a bind. And sometimes kids didn't get educated. But 2004, Congress said, that's not allowed anymore. Free, appropriate public education. So you have it coming to you. It's owed to you. You're entitled to it. And a lot of times, though, the school will gloss over this part at the end. Further education, employment, and independent living. So for those of you who've been writing in and saying to me, I don't know, how did you get IEP goals during lunchtime? Right here. Because that's where your social goals are, right? Independent living requires social skills. So if you have a school who's only focusing on the academic goals, you got to tell them, IDEA says, I'm entitled to, and part of that is independent living and employment is social. And so that's when you are able to get an aid for lunchtime. That's when you're able to get programs that happen during lunchtime so that your child is getting support and not standing in the playground off by themselves while everybody else is playing on the equipment, right? But if we as parents don't know this, then a lot of times it gets glossed over. Let's be honest here, the squeaky wheel frequently gets the grease, and you need to get that. If you're a parent of a child on the spectrum, you have to speak up. You just have to advocate. We're all our children's best advocates. And teachers as well. I have been in IEP meetings and watched teachers throw down to get things for a child when they realize, hey, law is on the side here and this child can benefit from that. So we don't want to leave that out. Administrators will frequently try to not let you know, not all administrators, but some, and we understand that they have a budget that they have to balance. That's their job. That's not our job. Our job is to advocate for our children. So in any case, IDEA, and you can go to idea.ed.gov and really educate yourself further than this, but just having an understanding of this paragraph can really make a difference. So IDEA, it's a good idea. Okay, we always start the morning with a question that we like to ask you guys. And this morning we want to know, when and how have you felt discriminated against because of autism, right? It's the icky. It's the icky. It's the big elephant in the room. When and how have you felt discriminated against because of autism? I got a series of letters over the weekend. And by the way, this question was written long time ago, but I got a series of emails over the weekend from a mom who, you know, was in that devastating place. I think we've all been there at some point where we have felt, I'm just seeing, oh, there we go. My questions disappeared for a second. We've all had that moment where we realized, oh my gosh, this is because of autism, that something is happening and somebody has a wrong idea, and it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And when my child was very little, I've talked before on the show about how we had an experience with our local YMCA, which to this day, when I talk about it, it's very emotional for me. We progressed so far past that, you know, I had no expectation that it could ever happen to me again or happen to my child, that he would be discriminated against. And just, I think it was 2 years ago, there was a friend who a bunch of our friends were going to a friend's 50th birthday party, and I was having a terrible time finding a babysitter, and so my husband and I were going to have to go separately, and the friend was saying, don't do that. We've got this great babysitter, and just bring Jem over, and they can all be together, and they can play together, and just, pay our babysitter a little bit extra, and it'll all be fine. And I said, gee, I don't know why. I just feel a little uncomfortable with that. Have you asked the babysitter if it's okay? And they said, no, it'll be fine. And I said, I haven't met this person. I'm not okay with just leaving my child with anybody, first of all, and especially if they don't know. Can you just call her? And it was a really good friend who trusts and says, this is a great babysitter. And I said, can you just call her and clear it with her? And she called back and she goes, oh, she's not feeling well. And I said, oh my gosh, your babysitter's not feeling well, so is she canceling? Like, are you not able to go too? Like, maybe one parent can stay with all of the kids? And they were like, no, she's coming still, but she just doesn't feel like she could handle a third child. And I said, all right, what's going on? And, there was a lot of denial about it, but she didn't want to babysit my child, and wouldn't give reasons why, but, and she knew that he was on the spectrum and didn't want to babysit my child. And it was devastating to me. It was devastating to me. Whenever I think our children are not accepted, they're a piece of us, and it feels horrible. And unfortunately, I think we will all feel it at some point in our lives. And I think it's good to get it up and out. So we're asking you today, when and how have you felt discriminated against because of autism? Let's share the stories. Let's enlighten each other so that people know this happens. It's not okay. There is no part of it that's okay. But we are on a path. We're on a journey. We want things to be better. And I think part of having things be better is to talk about it so that other people can see and hear and go, oh my gosh, that's really inappropriate. So let's get the gunk out today. Clearing house, cleaning out the closets, post on Facebook. We will have time later on to check in and hear these horrible stories and maybe move through it and get to another place. So we'll end up looking at the positive side, but sometimes you have to get it out, right? So today, rant, go for it. Yell, scream, talk about how bad it was. And then we can all hug and know that we're all on the same team. All right, we always have a topic for the week. And in case you couldn't guess, in talking about our 4 A's, we're always talking about autism, but this week, we're really honing in on acceptance. It says awareness, but this week we're honing in on acceptance. We really want to define what this is. It's a slippery thing, isn't it? Because even over the last 2 weeks, as I've watched all of my autism family who have been yelling for acceptance and saying we need acceptance, but even with our own community, there have been a whole lot of people who have said, it's not okay to do this, it's okay to do this, we're boycotting you, we don't accept you, right? It's hard. This is a hard thing, acceptance. But, we know about hard. We've done hard before. We're not going to shy away from it. There's nothing easy about this, but we're still going to do the work because we have to. We have to do the work for ourselves, for our loved ones, because the world will be a better place the further we get towards acceptance. I believe that with every fiber of my being. So, some of the different things that we're going to be talking about today on the show. I'm really excited. In just a few minutes, we're going to be joined via the telephone by Ellen Sabin, and she is the author of the Autism Acceptance Book. Now, that's not the whole title of it. It's the Autism Acceptance Book, Being a Friend to Someone on the Spectrum. Isn't that a book that we should all have on our bookshelves and be lending out to our friends and family and their kids? Absolutely. So Ellen's going to be with us in just a few minutes to talk about this amazing book and about how it can be used in a classroom to create an environment in which our kids will be more welcome. I think that's a great thing to talk about. We are going to spend a little bit of time today talking about a year ago and some of the different things that have happened in the last year. And then in the next hour, almost at the top of the hour, we're going to have Carrie Mallory with us. She is an amazing autism mom. Her site on Facebook is Autism Will Not define my son. She's got a lot of things going on in the month of April that I want her to share with you, but also she wrote a letter the other day that really touched my heart. So we're going to be talking with Carrie Mallory. We've got a lot of other stuff planned for today. It's really going to be exciting. Stick with us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking with Ellen Sabin about the Autism Acceptance book, Being a Friend to Someone on the Spectrum.
Hello, fellow activists. Last week, we talked about step number 1, accept and embrace this challenge. Now we're moving on to step number 2, educate yourself. After my son Wyatt was diagnosed, I put up a sign over my home office that said Autism Central. I went to school in my home office every night after my husband and Wyatt had gone to bed because I was determined to learn everything there was about autism. That's because knowledge is power. Visit all the autism websites you can, read all the books you can, learn about all the organizations that are out there that offer free guides to help you. Some of them even offer mentors to help guide you. Find out about local support services. Find out about what educational services your child is entitled to. Get to every autism conference and seminar you can. I'll never forget the first autism conference that I went to. The first speaker was a beautiful, brilliant woman named Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet. She spoke about a therapy called Applied Behavioral Analysis, or ABA. She told about how it could improve the life of children with autism, and in some cases, recover them. Now, despite the fact that Wyatt had been diagnosed for over a year, nobody had told me about this therapy. I remember calling my husband on the cell phone and saying, "Honey, I met the woman who is going to help improve Wyatt's life." And I'm happy to say that 8 years later, that's true. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed by all the information that's out there? Well, you're not alone. But try different approaches for your child. Trust your gut. Just 40 short years ago, mothers were told if their child had autism that they would have to be institutionalized, and in some cases they were actually blamed for their child's autism for failing to bond with the child. That was called refrigerator mother syndrome. Well, thank goodness times have changed. So until next time, learn everything you can about autism and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Autism Live. This week we're talking about autism acceptance, and what better place to start than with the author, Ellen Sabin. She is the founder of Watering Can Press, and she is the author of the autism book. As I mentioned before, the subtitle is Being a Friend to Someone on the Spectrum. There is the lovely book. Ellen is joining us right now via the phone. She's in New York. Ellen, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're thrilled. I would love it if you would tell the viewers a little bit about this book and how people can use this in a classroom to help foster acceptance.
Sure. So the full title actually is the Autism Acceptance Book, Being a Friend to Someone with Autism. And true to the title, the goal of the book is really to walk children through better understanding autism, demystifying the behaviors of people who might be on the spectrum, and inviting children to be more kind and accepting to the people who meet that may be different than them in certain ways. So it's an interactive book where children fill in the blanks and participate in activities and really get to fully appreciate how they can better understand their peers. A lot of classrooms across the country use the book to support them in mainstreaming children. And why it becomes, hopefully, pretty valuable is, number one, that the book in and of itself is an activity book that provides a lot of information, but also is experiential. So, for example, a whole chapter called Walk in Their Shoes and See How They Feel, where children get to exercise their understanding and empathy muscles and imagine, for example, how it might feel if they had sensitive hearing, or picture themselves in situations where they like things that are predictable and write down some of the things that they think they enjoy doing over and over and how they react when they're surprised. So the book itself is experiential. But in addition to that, on the Watering Can Press website, we offer free teacher's guides that link the books to lesson plans that meet national and state content standards. So teachers can use the book by simultaneously referring to the lesson plans and teaching lessons in character education, language arts, science, math, et cetera.
It's really remarkable, and it's so interactive that on the cover of the book, it says by Ellen Sabin, and so the child can fill in their name as well. Isn't that correct?
Yep. Yeah, the entire book. I mean, when I started writing the book, what I really felt strongly about, Shannon, was that a lot of the topics that we try to educate children about can often get too educational or righteous and preachy. And my goal in the book was really to allow a child to think and navigate and explore and consider their way through the book. So the book really becomes their own keepsake. Mm-hmm. After they write it, it really becomes a reflection for them of how they feel about things. And for that matter, we all know that while bringing this topic into schools is really important, frankly, it's also important to bring it into homes. And because the book is a really useful conversation starter, it also has a lot of value in bringing messages out of the school and back to parents and community leaders and siblings.
I think it's such an important book, Ellen, because so many times I think people mean well, but they don't know what to do. And this really is a great tool that you can give to a friend. If you have a friend who's got a child who plays with your child, you can give this book to them, have them go through the book, or you can gift this to your child's classroom, to the teacher and to the classroom, and it really creates something that they don't have to think of, what am I going to do? It lays it all out for them. You give them the roadmap to foster this acceptance, and that's really a great gift.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that was essentially what I was hoping to create. And as you mentioned, there are, for example, special education PTAs that buy bulk supplies to give to every child in a classroom or school. Yeah. Or for that matter, school foundations who have underwritten sponsoring the book to support building greater acceptance in schools and their communities. And also, as you said, because the book truly helps children on the spectrum and neurotypical children, put it this way, I think we're all nervous of things we don't understand.
Yes.
So the book, hopefully is highly researched and helps demystify some of the ways that peers might not feel understandable to someone, and just eliminates them. And all of a sudden what you have is, here's a classmate in front of me who's different than I am, and different is special. So let's all celebrate our differences.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So how can people get this book, Ellen?
The book is available through the publisher, which is Watering Can Press. So the website is wateringcanpress.com. Again, wateringcanpress.com. Mm-hmm. And I point to that website because, in addition, there are free teacher's guides that can be downloaded from that website, and even free Jewish and Christian guides that some people have used in other settings with the book. It's also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but the easiest way to get it while also seeing the other free tools and guides would be at wateringcanpress.com.
Well, it's a remarkable book. And the other thing about going to Watering Can Press is that there are many other books that they can see while they're there that you have authored and been a part of. Really incredible line of books that you really focus on growing kids with character. And that's a very important thing, Ellen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am honored to get to work on the topics that I think are important for families, and I hope that my books can contribute to that.
Well, we thank you so much for your work in this area, and we really want to encourage people, go to wateringcanpress.com. The book is The Autism Acceptance Book, Being a Friend to Someone with Autism. Ellen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Really remarkable book. And so as we kick off this week of autism acceptance, there's no better way to start it off with that. Again, the book is The Autism Acceptance Book, Being a Friend to Someone with Autism. You can find it at Watering Can Press, I can't speak anymore, .com. All right, we'll be back after these messages.
Hi, welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up, designed by experts in autism. Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back to Autism Live. You may have noticed if you look at our Facebook page that next Tuesday we have a very special event. Eustacia Cutler is going to be joining us via the phone and in a live interview, live on the air. Now, if you don't know, Eustacia is an amazing woman in her own right, but she's most famous for being Temple Grandin's mother. Okay. She's one of my heroes. I don't know about you, but I just think that she is remarkable. I had the opportunity to speak to her on the phone yesterday, and she has agreed to come on the show next Tuesday via phone and to do a series of interviews with us. So that'll be the first interview, and we want questions starting right now. So if you have a question for Ms. Eustacia Cutler, send it in on the live feature or Facebook us. We won't be able to get through a ton of questions in the interview time in this first one, but send them in because I'm going to pick a handful of questions to ask her, and maybe yours could be one of them. I tell you, I walked around in a cloud all day yesterday after I spoke to her. I was so excited when I stayed up really late last night. You know, my husband works, we kind of miss each other. I get home from work and he has just left for work on a lot of days, and then he gets home and usually I'm conked out asleep. But I waited up last night to talk to him because I said, I have to talk to you about talking to Eustacia Cutler. It's amazing. She said a couple of things that just knocked my socks off, you guys. So I can't wait for you guys to talk with her. And we will also be doing a phone interview with Temple sometime in the next couple of weeks as well. And I want to take a second to talk to you. Temple does a series of conferences in different places around the country with Future Horizons. And these are amazing conferences. She has one coming up in Ventura, California on April 25th. And we're going to take a trip out there to see her. And I tell you, in all honesty, to get to be in the same room with Temple is one of those things that you just must do. You just must do it. You must find a way to do it, because there are a whole lot of people in life that you meet and you have this expectation of, are they going to be as cool as you thought they were when you saw them on this video or you saw them in this TED Talk or whatever. Temple is that and more. I just think it's a really worthwhile thing to do. And if that were the only thing going on at this conference, I would tell you go. But it's not the only thing going on at this conference. So again, it's Future Horizons. It's called an Inspirational Autism Asperger's Conference, Ventura, California, April 25th. Their keynote speaker is Dr. Temple Grandin. But they have other speakers as well. Roan Melmed, who is a physician, is going to be presenting on a pediatrician's perspective. That's something that I would love to hear. And then Jennifer McElwee Myers is going to be speaking on life skills for those on the spectrum. It's a day, it's a full day, and you can take a break and have lunch on your own, but it's a wonderful, wonderful conference. I want to encourage you to go. Again, it's Future Horizons, and you can, I'm looking for, I've got the flyer here, and I'm looking for a website to send you to. It's www.FHautism.com, which stands for Future Horizons Autism.com. So www.FHautism.com. Check it out. An amazing, amazing conference. And we'll keep you posted on when we're going to be talking with Temple, and we'll have you guys send in questions for that. But right now I want questions for Eustacia Cutler. She's a wordsmith, you guys. She just has a way of saying things that you go, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I lived to hear that. She said something to me yesterday. I just can't get out of my head. I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to hear it. I said, please tell this story next Tuesday, and she said she would. So really, really remarkable. Okay, moving in an entirely different direction, I want to take just a couple of minutes to commemorate a year ago. A year ago today, on April 8th, we, for our April Autism Awareness Month, we started a campaign called Compassion in Action. And we really, in light of some of the things that had happened, like the Newtown massacre, we felt that it was really important. You know what they say about, in order to get something, you have to be willing to give it. And what we want as an autism community, and that's why we're talking about acceptance this week, what we want is acceptance, and we want compassion. We want people to recognize that for the autism community, it's different. It's not less, it's different. And the challenges are different. And while people maybe can't understand what the challenges are, having compassion would just be a lovely, luscious thing, right? And we feel very strongly, and I feel very strongly, that if you can't show compassion for someone else, it's unlikely, not impossible, but it's unlikely that you'll get compassion back, right? You can call it karma, you can call it law of the universe, whatever it is, but in order to get something, you have to be willing to give it. And I certainly felt that as an autism mom, a lot of my time and my headspace is taken up with autism, and I was looking around me, and in the period of time in which we went through intensive autism and intensive behavioral intervention, we kind of circled wagons and stayed very inclusive. And when I started catching up with friends, I found out that they had gone through some amazing things during the time we were going through autism. And it was like sharing war stories about this is what life is. And sometimes things happen. And for us, we were going through autism. For another person, they were going through cancer. For another person, they were going through divorce. And it made me stop and consider of how many people are hurting on a daily basis. So while I was thinking about all this after the Newtown crisis, I felt, as I do a lot of times, if I get uncomfortable, I just want to take some action. I just want to do something for someone. And it could be big, it could be small, you know, just taking some action. And what I had heard in that moment, where I said, after Newtown, I said, I just want to do something to change the dialogue in my head. I feel the need to do something for someone somebody else, and somebody told me about a dad who was battling brain cancer with a little daughter, a young man, so much to look forward to, but a particularly devastating kind of brain cancer that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for medical hope. You know what I mean? And that they were doing a project for this young man and asking people in his church to shave their head, that somebody had said that they would give money, and there was a certain amount of money if a man did it, but more if a woman would did it. And they said they were so bummed out that not a single woman in their congregation was willing to shave her head for this man. And I don't belong to that church, but I said, gee, if that's what would, if that would move the dial a little bit, shave my head. Well, it turned into this thing, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But anyway, we decided to do it here on the show. And to me, we all have our different things. To me, it was the smallest thing that I could do for another person who was hurting. And by the time we did it, I have to be honest with you, it almost felt ridiculous. Like the head shaving itself got so much attention, and that it became a bit of a circus, a 3-ring circus. But after we did it, I had an opportunity to talk to that young dad. And by the way, let's use names. That dad's name is Ryan Oaf. And you can find his family's page on Facebook. It's The Fight for Ryan. And Ryan, to this day, to this moment, it continues to battle. I am told that things have gotten exponentially harder, and that it is very likely that Ryan, will not be able to be with us much longer. And I asked the other day for people to please say a prayer for this young man, because he's remarkable. And I had the opportunity to speak to him after we shaved the head, and later on that day, and it was just remarkable. You talk about courage, you talk about faith, you talk about somebody who's making the best with the hand that they've been dealt. This is a courageous young man, as is his family, facing all the things that they have to face. And there are a lot of people going through a lot of things, but it was important to me to do something for one person, and to ask everybody else, do something for someone. It may be something that you do for yourself. It may be something that you do for your next door neighbor. It may be something that you do for somebody you've never met before. And it doesn't have to be shaving your head, right? We said, if something that is specific to that person. It could be for your child, but some act of compassion. And I think it's important to do that the whole year round, but I especially think it's important for us in the autism community, like any group of people who have been met with some discrimination. I think it's important to show compassion for yourself and to show compassion for other people. That's how good things spread. So in any case, we wanted to do a big shout out to Ryan and to his family, and tell them that our thoughts and our prayers are still with you, and we have nothing but good thoughts for you. And to take a second, I got my hair cut short yesterday. I certainly didn't get it shaved, but to thank everybody who was a part of our Compassion in Action. And as a fun thing, we did a time lapse of them shaving my head. Mark Christopher Lawrence was the person who actually held the clippers in the beginning. He's a fabulous actor on Glee, and was on Chuck for so many years. So Nancy Alspaugh Jackson was there eventually. We brought in Monica Holloway, the wonderful author. We had Alex Plank from WrongPlanet.net, who came in and was brushing hair off of my face. And eventually then we had a hairstylist from a local salon come in and sort of clean it up, right? So we wanted to take a second and just remember and show you the time lapse of our 3-ring circus of me shaving my head. Take a look. there it is. Kind of ridiculous. I specifically asked him to take the wide swath down the middle to start, because I was always a fan of Bozo the Clown, and that's kind of what I look like when you take the right down the middle. And yes, that was me with the dark hair before I shaved my head and stopped dyeing my hair. It's kind of funny to see me that way now, isn't it? But in any case, just a side little note, hoping that, again, prayers for Ryan and his family, but also that we all take today and remember to carry this forward, whether we call it compassion in action or we just do it, right? You can call it 68,000 things, but it's important to do it. Find the time today to do something nice for someone else. I guarantee you it will make the entire week better. And it will come back to you times two. And if it doesn't, you can call me up and yell at me, right? But I guarantee you it will come back to you times two. So we're going to take a break and come back and look at some of the different things that you guys have written in over the weekend. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. We're going to be working on identifying and labeling emotions. In February of last year, I know we did something super similar, but I promise you for this project it's going to be faster and easier, because part of the project you'll be printing from our Facebook page at facebook.com/autismlive. Well, here's the rest of the materials you'll be needing. Templates, scissors, crayons, and tape. The first step you're going to do is print the template from facebook.com/autismlive. I have them right here, and I printed them double-sided. So now that I have all the pages printed out, I'm going to hand it off to my kiddo to have them color it in. So while they're coloring the face, you can of course work on identifying colors, labeling features, staying in the lines, and of course working on that pincer grasp. Once your child has finished coloring all the faces, you're going to take the pieces of paper and fold them in half. Once I have all the pages folded in half, I'm going to layer them together like a booklet. Now that I have them like this, I'm going to do is take my tape inside and kind of tape it together so they're bound together. If you have a stapler, you can do that too. Alright, now that this has been taped together, it looks like I have a book. So we're almost done with the project. All we need to do now is cut along the dotted line. Keep in mind, don't go all the way across to the edge, or else it's going to be cut into thirds and it's not going to be a solid book anymore. The other thing in mind is, your kid can work on following a straight line while cutting, and if they can't do that, help them out. Alright, my booklet now has been cut up, and as you can see, I can now take a tab and flip it, and it'll change the look of the face. And what you can do is, ask your child how the emotion of the face changes based on what parts of the features you change. Well, I hope you had fun doing this activity with me, and until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. I promised that we would come back and talk about some of the things that you guys have written in over the weekend. One of the things that somebody wrote in, they said, hey, I'm looking at this site and I'm trying to find the interview with Dr. Brian Roper on the podcast. Can you help? So I thought it would be a great idea to just talk for a second about how you find specific stuff. When you go to autism-live.com, what you're going to find there is the live show or the most recently recorded show, and you can cycle back through a couple of the last shows. But if you're looking for something that happened a week ago, it's not the best place for you to be at. You want to go to our entire library of videos, and the best place that I can send you to do that, I mean, you can go to iTunes, but that's going to have the as I understand it, we can only fit 100 there. Emily, correct me if I say anything wrong. But if you go to the YouTube page, that's where you're going to find everything. We archive everything there. And you can go to, make sure you go to the search feature that's part of our page, not the one at the top, right? That's the YouTube one. But there is a search feature that's just a little bit like, there's the trailer that plays, and then underneath that, there's the little magnifying glass, right? And if you click on that, you can search a name. So you can put Dr. Brian Roper in that, and then it will show you all the videos where Dr. Brian Roper is. But you can search a topic too. You can say, toilet training, I want to know about chaining, I want to know about biting, I want to know about IEPs, whatever that is. So you can put a person or you can put just a topic, and it will show you all the videos in which, now, Is it a perfect system? No. And if you struggle, I do the keywords. So I try to do keywords that I think you guys will search. But if you're not finding it, sometimes I get it wrong because I don't know what you guys are going to search. Tell me, because I can usually remember about when we had. I don't have an eidetic memory, but I have something, similarly related that I get a fuzzy idea, not clear, but. So I can help you to find the specific episodes in time. But I know for Dr. Brian Roper, if you go into the YouTube page, and again, it's youtube.com/autismlive, you'll be right there and you can see all the different things. And they have them in terms of different channels. At the top there, you can search anything, but there are highlights, there are complete shows, and then you'll see that there are Ask Dr. Doreen's right there at the top. Then, you can go and find the channel that's just the Smarties. You can find the channel that's just things having to do with food. You can find the channel that's just Temple Grandin on our page. Those are sort of the subheadings, right? But at any point, you can go up to, again, it's underneath the trailer, the little magnifying glass, click on that, and then that will allow you to put search features in to be able to find topics that you're interested in. There are, I think it's over 1,000 videos now, well over 1,000 videos. So there's a lot of content to search, but I will tell you honestly, we haven't covered everything yet, or I could shut up and go home. But we're not done yet. So if you don't find what you want there, do me a favor and email us or write in on the live feature and say, I don't see this, because I was saying this the other day, as they're stuffing me in the casket, I'm still going to be like, wait a second, there were 3 more things that we haven't covered. I want to cover as much as we can. So please let me know when you don't see something there and go, hey, what I'd really like to see is this. You guys really drive this bus. If you write and tell me, then we will make sure that it happens. But make sure that I'm going to put that up in the... You can see there was the question about Dr. Roper. If you're watching us live, it just appeared on your screen. Okay, so moving on to some other questions here, some of which I'm going to save for Dr. Grandpichet tomorrow. But somebody wrote in specifically for me that their child is high-functioning, 8 years old with autism. They currently live in New York, and they're relocating to Florida. The exact location will be determined by the school I choose. Their child has a twin who also needs speech and some help in learning, but is not on the spectrum. They go on to say, I need help in finding the proper school to fit both their needs, preferably the same school, of course. I am visiting a friend in Orlando and would like to visit recommended schools during my stay. I'm at a loss and a bit overwhelmed. Please help. And I want to say to you, and then they go on to say, I'm a single mom, very limited budget, so scholarships and information for private schools would also be very helpful. Okay, so a couple of different things that you can do to search, right? Because it's a big world, and we're trying to connect as many people in a network to hold hands so that people can get good information. So a couple of different things that I'm going to suggest to you, places that you can go. The first thing that I would do were I you is I would look and see if there's a TACA group in Florida. I'm fairly sure that there are a couple of them in TACA, at least one, I think. But see if there is, and join that group and put out a feeler and say, I'm looking for information about where is the best school district to be, and be specific with them. You'll get some parent feedback from TACA groups. I would also encourage you to take a look, go to autismspeaks.com and go to the places that go to Florida. First of all, they have an interactive map. Go to the resources tab and go to Florida and take a look at what resources, and if they list any schools there, right? And if they list any support groups. You're going to sort of get a feel for where is there a hot spot where there's a lot of autism services, By the way, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the top-notch ones, right? But you get a feel for, usually when there's competition, it forces people to be better. Not always, but sometimes, right? And so maybe once you see that, you see, oh, it looks like there's a whole bunch of services in this area, and there's a whole bunch of services in this area, then you can look and see if there's an autism society in that area and call the autism society and say, hey, any information about schools. Make sure that you're sampling lots of different places so you're not just getting one person's opinion, because sometimes that can be a pitfall. They either hate something that other people go, well, I don't understand, that's a great thing, they had a bad experience, but that's not typical. Or it could be the exact opposite, right? That they're like, oh, it's fabulous, but it doesn't suit your needs once you get there. So make sure you ask a variety of different people. I would also tell you to, before you get too far moved, make sure what you're going into in terms of services. You can go to centerforautism.com. There's right on the home page, there is an Affordable Care Act tab. If you click on that, it's an interactive map that will tell you, click on Florida and see exactly what the insurance laws are there, so that you're at least not getting, sidelined when you get there and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that the laws were different than New York. Off the top of my head, I just don't know what the differences between the two states are. So there's a couple of different ideas. Now, I've said for a long time, there needs to be some sort of place where parents can go and talk about these things, and you can just easily go put a zip code in and hear what parents are saying about this school or that school in regards to autism, because there's all kinds of sites that do that for schools in general, but not for autism. Now, we had Sarah Gershfeld on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she is the founder of Love My Provider. And it's one of the things that Love My Provider is going to do eventually, but they're not there yet, is to have a place where you can rate schools and what dealing with the school district is like. It's not there yet, but it's coming. But eventually, just know that somebody already knows the plight that you're in and understands how difficult it is. And I want to tell you, it's difficult no matter where you are. That I live in a place where there are so many choices, and you would think that that would just be heaven on a stick, right? We have an embarrassment of riches, as they say here in Los Angeles, schools to go to and places that have to do with autism and don't have to do with autism and have to do with inclusion. But both Nancy Allspot-Jackson and I have been on pins and needles for the last couple of months because we're trying to figure out where our kids are going to school in the fall. And it just isn't easy for any of us. And you can ask everybody under the sun, and that will help to quiet your stomach a little bit, but it's still a little bit maddening. And until you actually get there and your child's experiencing it, it's hard to know for sure. But I would start with a couple of those resources and see if you can't get a handle on, what you're going to hear are the extremes. First of all, you're going to hear, oh, don't go there, right? Like I said, make sure that you're hearing that from a couple of people before you rule something out. But sometimes it's surprising that schools are very quiet about how good of a job that they do, especially if you've got a high-functioning child where you're looking at inclusion and you're hoping that they will just, help supplement with some other things. Sometimes those schools aren't as public and announcing, hey, we have an autism program, because they're just busy doing it, right? So, I also will look and see, there are many schools now that are using the skills program. And that's always an exciting thing, because when I hear that from a school, I know, hey, they're into looking at each child as an individual. I know that there's a certain amount of training that the staff have gotten so that they have an understanding, and that the staff is talking to each other. That skills makes it really possible for one teacher to talk to another teacher and say, here's what we worked on today, and here are what the goals are, and to collaborate. So I will look and see, I'll talk to the skills people and see if there are any schools that they can recommend that they know that they're using the skills program. But I don't think that you sent me a private email. So if you think of it, send me your email address so that I can get back to you. Okay. All right, we are going to take a break and go to the A word, and then we're going to come back and have Carrie Mallory with us from Autism Will Not Define My Son. First, though, as I mentioned, the A word, this is the ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. It follows a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. We've gone back to the beginning of the series to see what this kind of intervention is like for a family. It's not easy, but it's life-changing. So take a look. This is the A word.
Very, very glamorous way of eating. Good boy. Thank you for taking a bite.
It's been about 1 week since Jack Riley's therapist began the feeding program with him. Feeding has been a major behavioral issue for Jack Riley. He refuses to feed himself and typically swats away food when his parents or others attempt to feed him. Up until a week ago, Cheryl and Mike would play a movie or give him toys to distract him in order to get a bite in. During clinic, Jack Riley's supervisor, Sabrina, suggested pausing the movie to motivate him to feed himself so he is able to get his reward.
Okay, let's take a bite.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Oops, I didn't do it. I just touched it. Take a bite. Good. Very good.
Good eating.
Good bite. One more bite. Oh, that's a good one.
Nice.
Yay. Can you take a third one for Mama? Oh. I know. Especially with yogurt.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, buddy.
There you go. You did great. Oh yeah, he never fed himself yogurt. When we do it at night, I'll do applesauce with the video and then bring this out for the other stuff just to break it up.
Kit.
Take a bite. Kit. Good talking.
Kit.
Kit.
Good eating too, buddy.
That's a little bitty bite, but it counts. Yay!
How do you feel about that it's so dependent on the iPhone?
He'll take 3 bites in between games, so I think eventually it'll be 4 bites, and eventually it'll be finish the soup, and you can have the iPhone. So I think we can work it. That's been less than a week of just limiting that even, so he'll do it. I think if he's got a big enough reward at the end, he'll do it. Take a bite. Pea soup. Huge bite. Holy schmoly.
Good job, kiddo.
Yay! That was really good. You want to take another bite? Oh, it's cat. It's totally worth another bite. It's totally worth. Let's take 3 bites. You can do it. That'll count. I'll give you credit since it's pea soup. Mommy wouldn't eat that.
So the self-feeding just happened in this past week?
Since Sabrina suggested to pause the video, which I thought would never work. I thought it would just make him mad. And he has gotten mad. We've had some tantrums, to say the least, but he's kind of starting to figure out that we're not kidding.
Daddy.
Daddy?
Papa.
Daddy and Mommy.
Bye.
And Papa. Do you see Papa?
Papa.
What? Baby.
Papi.
Baby.
Papi.
Mommy or baby? I don't know.
Papi.
Mommy, baby. Mommy,
Papa.
baby, baby.
Papa. Baby.
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 Is he a baby too?
I'm not a baby.
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 Hold on. Look, Jack Riley, look. What is this? Baby.
Jessica continues teaching functional pretend play to Jack Riley. The reason is so he's able to play appropriately with his toys and be able to interact with other kids when preschool begins.
Knock, knock. Let's go. Let's go.
You do it.
Let's go.
And we're also doing a token system now where he has to sit and earn 3 tokens before he's able to get up, just so that he sits longer, and he also has a visual so that he knows that, okay, when I get all my stickers, then I can go play and do whatever it is that I want him to do. Play! So now we're having him do 3 things for us first, and then letting him go. What is it? It's an iguana. Yeah. Iguana. Good try. That's iguana. Very good. It looks like a guitar. It's a violin.
Right.
Violin.
Baby.
Yeah, violin. I love how you're saying all your words, especially all the new words. So what's that one? Umbrella. You say it? Umbrella. Good. We're having him identify labels, but also using a full sentence response. So instead of just saying chicken, we're having him say it's a chicken, just so we can develop his language a little better. And he just gets used to labeling things that way. All right.
Bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles. You want more?
The bubble.
Okay, sit down. We gotta get our stickers. Yeah. Okay. All the way. Sit down all the way. Thank you. What is it? Say it's. No, look better. Jack Riley, do you want bubbles? Do you want bubbles? Do you want bubbles?
Bubble.
Yeah, okay. What is it? Say it's. Yeah, it's a chicken. Good job. 2 more stickers. Look. Okay, what is it? Say it's. Yeah, it's a chicken. 1 more. What is it? Good job. There you go, Jack. You get your bubbles. Good job. Look. Got all your stickers. It took us a few days to even get him to say it's a, so he was just saying chicken because he knows what it is. But yeah, today it's he's saying a chicken, and then at the end he said it's a chicken. So that's actually pretty good. No, sit down, and then you get bubbles. No, Jack Riley. Okay, come on, sit down, and then I give you bubbles. Yeah. There you go. That's it down. Here we go. All right, can you try? Okay, ready? Sit down. No, you need to sit down. No, try again. Sit down.
Sit down, buddy.
Ow. No, try again, honey. Sit down, buddy. Okay, you try, okay? Yeah. You try. Ready? Sit down. Okay. This is sit down, bud. Okay? Okay, you try. Jack Riley, try.
As you saw earlier, sit down is a task Jack Riley knows how to do. Right now, Jessica is establishing compliance and consistency in following requests.
Okay. Hey, bud. Hey. You try again. Okay. No. Try again, buddy. That's a better chair. All right. Let's use that one, okay? Okay. Ready? Ready? Sit down. That's it. Bubbles. Jack, first, and then you get bubbles. Okay. Show me how you sit. Do you want bubbles? Sit down. That's down. Now, Jack Riley, try all by yourself. Okay?
Show me. I'm ready. Show me how you sit.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Sit down. Okay, all by yourself.
Show me how you sit.
Ready? Sit down. There you go. That's sitting. There you go, bud. Bubbles.
Can you show me?
Do you want these? Or you want those?
You want to show me how you sit? I know, it was hard, wasn't it? Oh.
See, now I think it's just more attention. It's all attention. He's just waiting for Mike to go over there. Or he's pooping.
That would be a better reason.
He's going right. Of course, I didn't sweep under there today, so it's like he's going to be wearing it.
Do you think he might be pooping?
Well, there would be a reason why he'd want to go into a private spot and get a minute, and if we weren't giving him that minute to do it, that could be why he went a little nutty there.
He's definitely due.
That could be. I mean, that definitely makes him mad, and I've caught him a few times where I try to get him like up on the chair at bedtime, and something tells me that now's not the time to fight him, and I'll let him down, and he'll go in the corner and do his business.
The reason Jack Riley's behavior was so intense was because he couldn't communicate his needs. This is why language is so important. Without it, how can he let others know his wants and desires?
We need to teach him that. I have to go to the bathroom, guys. Give me a minute. All I had to say. It's like bubbles are nice, but I got stuff to do. Feel better, buddy?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so excited because joining us via Skype is Carrie Mallory. She is an awesome autism mom, and you can find her site on Facebook. It is Autism Will Not Define My Son. How much do we love that? Carrie is a remarkable person, and Autism Will Not Define My Son has a lot of different stuff going on this month of April. So first of all, Carrie, welcome back to the show. So great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me back.
And tell people how Autism Will Not Define My Son started.
Well, my son was diagnosed shortly after his second birthday with being at risk of autism. And one of the big things is that people kept telling me, don't let them put a label on him. And I decided at that point in time that nobody was going to put a label on him. He was going to be who he wanted to be and when he wanted to be it and how he wanted to be it. So he may have autism, but autism does not define who he is or anything else.
And it's a remarkable page. Honestly, Carrie, you have so much information about so many different things, and it's a very uplifting page. We want to encourage everybody to go to Facebook, Autism Will Not Define My Son. And you've got a bunch of different events that are coming up this month. Tell the folks at home some of the different things that you guys are doing.
Yes. The first thing, the biggest thing that we have going on right now is we've joined forces with Inc. for Autism. Jack Skorhod, he's out of Canada. He started this campaign, Inc. for Autism, about 3 years ago when his son Lincoln was diagnosed. And he simply got a little puzzle piece tattoo, and then he realized how many more people wanted autism tattoos. And 3 years ago, he started this Inc. for Autism campaign. It started with 18 shops in the United States and Canada, and they raised $2,400. The next year, they went up to 130 tattoo shops, including the UK, Australia, Romania, Canada, and the US, and they raised over $20,000 for autism.
Amazing.
And then this year, they have over 220 shops out of 11 countries that are all involved in the Inc. for Autism campaign.
And so your particular Inc. for Autism campaign, where will that be?
Lady Luck Tattoo in Phoenix, Arizona. They're downtown Phoenix. Heather and Marge are the owners of the shop, and Heather actually has a daughter who is an adult on the spectrum. And when I originally went last year looking for tattoo shops to team up with, there were so many shops that, kept saying, well, what's in it for me? What do we get out of it? And when I went to Lady Luck Tattoo, Heather was like, okay, we're on board. She didn't ask one question. She's like, we'll donate all the profits, all of our time. And we've been teamed up with her. This will be our second year with Lady Luck Tattoo.
And so if somebody wants to participate, what do they need to do?
They can go to my website at www.autismwillnotdefinemyson.com, and just you can either sign up for a pre-made tattoo, which are $68 in honor of the 1 in 68, or you can design your own custom tattoo. And with the help of Heather and Marge, they will get you a quote for your actual tattoo and time and size and color and wherever you want it done. But if you go to the website, you can request an appointment, and then we'll send you a hold time, and then you pay your $40 deposit and then go from there.
Okay, really remarkable. And again, this is raising money for autism. But you've got some other events that are coming up. I know I was looking at your page this morning, and you had something about owls, origami owls.
A fellow autism mom, her name is Rosa. I actually met her through my autism page. She is teamed up with Origami Owl, and they're actually based here out of Phoenix. It's a young girl, 18 years old, who went to her parents and said, hey, can you buy me a car? And they said, no, you need to earn it yourself. So she started this company, and it's jewelry based, and they've got all kinds of little charms and little lockets, but they have an autism puzzle piece. And Rosa is one of their distributors. So she's teamed up with me, and we're doing this Origami Owl Autism fundraiser. Starts today, and it's going to go through the end of April.
Okay, really remarkable.
And she's donating 50% of all sales to Connor's Walk Team.
And April's an intense month for you guys, and you've got T-shirts, and you've got all different kinds of things, ways people can participate. And you have some events later on in the year. I understand you've got a bingo night.
Yeah, last year we did bingo night 80s style, because it was at the time it was 1 in 88. So we had 80s style, and we had people dress up in 80s garb, and we had 80s music playing the entire time.
Love it.
So that was pretty fun. We also had a Strikeout Autism Bowling fundraiser. We plan on doing that again, middle to end of September of this year. And then the T-shirts and the vehicle window stickers, that's an ongoing thing.
Okay.
I actually just got word about a half an hour ago from my friend at C3 Kitchen in the Scottsdale Quarter that they're also going to team up and help us with the fundraiser this year, but I don't have details on that yet.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll look forward to that. We'll have you back on to talk about that. But again, if people want to know more information, they can go to your website or they can go to the Facebook page. Which do you prefer they start at, or doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so autismwillnotdefinemyson.com or Facebook, Autism Will Not Define My Son. So, remarkable. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Carrie about, she sent a beautiful letter earlier this week that just really touched my heart. So don't go away, stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are talking with awesome autism mom, Carrie Mallory. She is talking to us from Arizona via Skype. Carrie, so thrilled to have you here. And you know that I just think the world of you. I think you're one of those awesome moms that's just getting it done, that you had your son in a situation where you realize, okay, I need to put some time and effort into this. And you've done that, but you've also already found the way to give back to the community. And that's remarkable. That takes most of the rest of us many more years than it's taken you. So first of all, I have to say kudos to you, and we think you're remarkable. But you sent me a letter this week that just really touched me, because I will be honest, and I said a little bit about this on the show before, that over the weekend and the end of last week, there was a lot of stuff on Facebook from our autism community that I was not proud of. There was just a lot of mudslinging and people saying, don't support this. And, I'm all about acceptance, so don't support this autism organization. And it made me sad. It made me really sad. And I got your letter and I thought, it's a mom who gets it. And, I don't want to read the whole letter here, because it's your letter to share. But basically, you in the letter say, I understand that there are people who don't agree with certain things and are not big supporters of certain things, but you talk about your personal experience as a parent and your personal experience with Autism Speaks and what it has done for you. And I think it's a story that more people need to hear about. So if you could just tell us why you support Autism Speaks, what they've done for you, and why you continue to support Autism Speaks.
Well, when Connor was first diagnosed, being at risk, you know, I was like any other mother, and I went into shock, not thinking that he was going to be able to do the things that, you know, normal kids do. And I had my couple days of just being in bed under the covers. And one day I get a phone call from this lady from Autism Speaks named Amy Hummel. And I didn't know what to expect. And about half hour, 45 minutes later, I went from wanting to just stay under the covers to, okay, what do I do now? Where do I go? And what do I do with all this information that Amy just gave me? And I honestly don't remember the words that she said to me, but whatever it was the spark that I needed to get out of bed and to do something for my son, because she made me realize that being under the covers, it wasn't going to help him, and that I needed to do something that was going to help him. So that's pretty much where and why, you know, my dedication to Autism Speaks has come on board. I immediately signed up for the walk and started, you know, raising funds for the walk. I was asked to join the walk committee my first year. I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't know what to expect on my first walk to begin with. And then as I went into the second year, I learned more and more about what Autism Speaks does and where the money goes and who it benefits. And there's an agency here called SARC, Southwest Autism Research and Resource Center. And come to find out, half of the money that we raise at the walk here in Phoenix goes to SARC to support families and help with research. And it stays here locally in our community. And then there's the other 50%, you know, is available for other agencies such as Hope Group and, you know, all these other agencies that they can request grants from Autism Speaks to try and keep more of that money here locally. And when I heard that, I was amazed, you know, because I kept hearing about so many people just bashing Autism Speaks about where does the money go? Where does the money go? Well, why don't they ask?
Yeah.
You know, I asked and they told me, and I was amazed.
Yeah, and you detail being able to go to SARC and see the facility, and as a parent just being so uplifted by what's happening there, and it really, really touched me. And I have to say that I appreciate you so much, because I think sometimes somebody says something and then a whole bunch of people jump on the bandwagon. We've seen that happen with so many other things with autism, where a study comes out and they say, oh, you know, this works or this doesn't work, and people jump on the bandwagon without looking at what it really is. And you put some facts together and said, you know, I'm a real parent. This is how it's affected me. This is how it affects my community. And I appreciate that you say everyone's entitled to their opinion, but you should know the facts.
Right.
Well, Carrie, I just think what you do is remarkable. I think you're a really courageous woman. We want to encourage people. Your walk is coming up in October, and people can join Connor's team and donate to Connor's team, correct?
Yes.
Can they do that on your website?
Yes, there's a spot on the website to join the team as a walker or to make a donation.
There you go. And you can also participate in any one of the events that she was talking about before, or buy a t-shirt. And all of the money that you raise goes to Connor's team for the walk, correct?
Correct, yes.
It's really amazing. And we were talking during the break that you were hoping to get out to Los Angeles this year for the LA Walk, and you can't because you've got your own events going on. But I hope that next year we can coordinate with you, Carrie, and have you come for the LA Walk, because I think it would be really exciting to have you here.
That would be awesome. I would look forward to it.
Very cool. Well, please give your child a big hug from all of us here at Autism Live, and thank you so much for being with us.
I will. Thank you, Shannon.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. really remarkable mom. I have to say, I just admire her so much. She has been somebody who's contributed to our conversation here at Autism Live in so many ways, on so many different occasions. And she gives me inspiration. Whenever we hear people and all the bickering and the backstabbing and whatever, hers is a clear voice of let's keep moving. Let's keep moving and let's do what's right for our kids. Absolutely adore her. All right, we're going to take a break and we'll be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills Assessment and Curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The Skills Assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the Skills Assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Wanted to take a couple of seconds to talk about some of the things that you guys have written in. First of all, our question of the day today was, when and how have you felt discriminated against because of autism? You guys have started to write in, and somebody wrote in a question here. But when we were talking earlier about how to find the right school, somebody suggested going to greatschools.com, and I do think that that's a worthwhile thing to do. The one thing I will say, though, is that it's very possible that there can be a great school that's out there that doesn't know how to deal with inclusion and doesn't know how to deal with autism. But if you start with a great school, right, and you know that a school is great in principle and in terms of what they do and that their hearts are in the right place, then you can further call them and say, hey, what do you have in place? What kinds of programs do you have for different learners? What kind of an autism program do you have? You know, what's your philosophy of inclusion? That's a question that I like to ask people, because if people go, oh yeah, you know, we think it's important to include kids in the classroom, and they don't have a clear insight into how you do that, that's you know, a very telling thing. I remember when we had Dr. Mike Dorsey on amazing, amazing gentleman. And he is considered by many the expert in the United States on correct placement for individuals on the autism spectrum. And he is often called upon to testify either for a parent, you know, on behalf of the parents for the student, or on behalf of the school to say, here's what's proper for this individual child. And he talked with us not too long ago, and of course you can search this on our YouTube page, about inclusion. And one of the things that sticks in my mind is he said that, you know, good inclusion is one of the hardest things to do, because people have to be highly trained, highly skilled, and have an open mind. So, you know, just saying, oh yeah, we're into inclusion doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to do it, how to make that happen. So things to keep in mind. But greatschools.com, a place to jumping off point to get information about schools. You'll find out about things that we all care about, like safety and those kinds of things. Okay. But we were talking today about acceptance. And of course, the flip side is discrimination. And we've all experienced it at some point. And if, my heavens, if you have not experienced discrimination because of autism, unfortunately, I'm going to guess that you will. And I wish that that weren't the case, but I think it's good to talk about it and healing to talk about it. And Mike, Mike, if you're watching, if you're still watching, did you get to see the episode where I talked about the different books? Because I could not find your email. And if you have my email, Mike Kipple, please email me. But I did a whole review of books on the show, and I wasn't sure if you were watching that day. But anyway, Mike wrote in and said, I have stories about this. I'm assuming discrimination, when he's talking about being in school for 16 years. I have seen many sad and good stories. One story brought to my mind first, a child who has a cognitive disability, who was set all day in just one CD classroom, no social opportunities. Just sad to think of that happening every day to a child in a CD classroom or an AUT classroom with no social opportunities around our country. And this is the reality in a lot of places, right? This is one of the reasons why we talk about IDEA, why we talk about IEPs and how we can advocate for our children. But it starts with awareness, right? That we need to know what's happening in the classroom. You need to have a good idea of what's happening with your child. Where are they being placed in the day? You know, for our kids who are verbal, right? It's important to ask them a bunch of questions like, you know, do you ever leave your classroom? Does anybody ever come and take you out of the classroom and take you someplace else? As parents, we should be aware of all those things. We should be notified. We're not always. I have the policy with my son now at the point that he's at, fully included, that there are no pullouts. There are no pullouts. No one should be coming and taking him for any reason to go anywhere else. Now, when I say this at an IEP meeting, there are people that, you know, it's just like this is not their philosophy of how we do things. Well, that's all well and good. But I'm the mama. You know, and I feel very passionately about that with my child at the point that he's at right now. Now, other kids, it's really good for them to get a pullout. It's good for them to get some time away from the other kids, to de-stress, to decompress, to have something else, to go to an OT room and get some quiet time, right? It's very individual. But I do think it's important that we know that if you talk to your child and you say, so, you know, where are you going? Now, that's for the kids who are verbal and can tell us. It's a particular heartache when our kids aren't verbal, and we have to find the way to know. Sometimes our kids can tell us through assisted technology what's happening. Sometimes we don't have that luxury, right? But still, as parents, we need to know. And sometimes that means showing up unexpectedly. Sometimes that means asking other people to look out for your child and tell you. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with parents where they have said, thank goodness for this teacher who told me, or thank goodness for this aide who told me, thank goodness for this paraprofessional who told me the truth of what's happening. You will find that there are good people among us, right? And they want to do the right thing, and if you ask them, they will tell you what is going on. But super duper important that we are tuned in and know as much as possible about what's happening. There are news stories all the time of things happening in classrooms that just shock and dismay me. I think to myself, as a former teacher, okay, first of all, you know, there is so much to be taught, and there are fewer and fewer instruction hours because of budget cuts, and there are more and more students in the classroom. I don't understand how teachers have time to do some of the things that we hear happen in different classrooms. I really don't. If you're doing your job, you just wouldn't have the time. It's shocking to me, but I've tried to stop being naive about this and understand that there are people who are not up to good things. They are in the vast minority, but even so, it's really, really dismaying. I think as parents, it's important that we know what's going on, that we know what the policies are. One of the things that I love about my child's school is that every day there are people who go into the classrooms unexpected, uninvited, just to see, you know, what's happening. And yeah, it's a little needle in a haystack, but if somebody isn't doing their job, you're going to see it eventually. Within all the, you know, however many 204 days of school that there are, whatever it is, you know, you're going to see that. And if you have decent admin people, you know, it's a protection, but it's also important that parents participate, volunteer, go into the classroom, talk to the other kids in the classroom, talk to the people that are there that are, you know, yard duty, and the people, the librarian. Make yourself known at that school. It's a protection for you, and it's a protection for your child. Absolutely know what's going on, because it makes me so sad, as you said, Mike, it makes me so sad to think that there are kids who are just parked, you know? And when you ask questions, you find out a wealth of different things. If you watch Parenthood, and I hope that you do, I love Parenthood. And I was recently telling somebody about one of the storylines on Parenthood, and if you're not caught up in your Parenthood, spoiler alert, there's a moment in which the parents of the young man who has Asperger's on the show, Max Burkholder, who we've interviewed before, he does a wonderful job, brilliant actor. The parents, one day he comes home and he's just frustrated and he's upset about something. The mom says, what's going on? And he says something about his one class and how his teacher took his chair away. And she says, what do you mean the teacher took your chair away? And she says, that's it. We're going to the school, and I'm going to tell this guy what for, and that's it. You know, I've had it with these teachers, and why would you take a student's chair away, right? But then she goes and says, I hear you took my kid's chair away. And the teacher says, yes, because Max struggles to stay in his chair, and he struggles to focus, and we did it as an experiment that one day we took his chair away, and by allowing him to continue moving, he got more work done and he did better, and socially, you know, it just worked better. It gave him freedom, that it wasn't necessarily, you know, a negative thing. This is a teacher thinking outside the box. So, you know, but you wouldn't know that unless you found out or if you went to school. So sometimes there's good stuff happening that you want to know about, right? But we always want to know everything that's going on at school so that we have a handle on it and that our kids are protected. First and foremost, they need to be safe. And then they need to be getting that education that we talked about earlier today with IDEA, that it's so essential that they're meeting goals to go to further education, that go towards living skills, that are helping them to progress to get a job. And they don't get to write anybody off and say, well, this child's never going to get to work a job. That is not allowed. There's a federal act, IDEA, that prevents that. In any case, we're going to take a short break and come back with more of Autism Live. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We talk from time to time about skills. You know that I'm a big fan of skills, and we were just talking about IEPs, and I love the skills program for so many different reasons, but I never love it more than I do during IEP season, because for me, it helps me to prepare in a way that I feel like I am, if not an equal member of the team, maybe slightly ahead of the curve sometimes, and I love that. I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I like to know what we're talking about if we're talking about my son and we're talking about his education. I want to be well informed, and Skills helps me to be able to do that. But Skills does a lot of things. Skills is an online curriculum. It has an assessment portion so that you can take the assessment and know exactly where your child is behind, where they need to catch up, where they're ahead, where they're excelling, right? So that you get a really clear snapshot and say, this is what we need to work on. This is where we have a gap, and this is going to prevent my child from being able to do the things that they want to do. So it has the assessment portion. Then it has the curriculum where you can pick and choose. It says, here are the lessons that are appropriate, and you can pick and choose and prioritize and say, I want to work on this first, and it gives them to you in order so that you can make a progression and get things done. It gives you a way to chart all that progress. It also gives you a search feature so that if you want to add a skill, and after you've done the assessment, you'll say, I want my child, you say social goals, and it will spit up a whole bunch of things that are appropriate for your child. When you go in and click on the individual lessons, you can learn more about them. And if you go, this is a goal that I really would like for my child to have, you can press a button and it creates the IEP benchmark and language. You just have to fill in the blanks about dates and who's going to monitor it. Brilliant to walk into an IEP meeting with. If there's something that you've been wishing for in the IEP and it's not there, and you're like, why is it not there? You can bring it in and say, here are 3 goals. That's what I did. Change the game. Total game changer. But on the flip side too, and we always want to be teaching our kids, right? But on the flip side, there's the Skills Behavior Intervention Plan Builder. It's called a BIP Builder. And that's also a part of Skills. So when your child is engaging in a behavior that you think, I want to have this stop and I don't know what to do. First, you have to find out what the function of the behavior is. And now in Skills, it has the CIFA, which is a series of questions that you answer about the behavior so that you can help to get an idea of what the function of this behavior is. Why is this behavior happening? Once you know that, then you can take that to the BIP Builder and create a scientifically effective intervention, step-by-step intervention that helps you to really make a difference in that behavior. It's just fascinating. Really, really cool technology. And to have all of these tools and to be able to access them at any point, and by the way, share them with your child's teacher, remarkable. More and more schools are using this program, but I encourage parents to be using the program as well. It's amazing. So we want to tell you some really exciting news about Skills, that there is a way that you can, it's a monthly subscription, right, that you pay to have access to Skills. And some of you have said, hey, I want to tell more people about this, But like everything else, you'd like a reward, right? We say that in order to keep doing a behavior, you have to have some sort of reward, some sort of reinforcement for it. So the skills people have a reinforcement for you. You can get 1 month free on your skills subscription for every referral that you send that actually becomes a subscriber. So just have your referral call to sign up for a skills subscription, and the number is 877-975-4559, extension 907. I'm going to say that again because it was lengthy. 877-975-4559, extension 907. So typically you can sign up online, but if you want to get the credit for having referred somebody, have them call that number and say that you referred them, and in that way you'll get 1 free month once they sign up. So if you signed up 10 people, you would get 10 free months of skills. What? That's a pretty cool thing. Okay, and the skills people, they put out a little comment, and they said, we understand that access to a CARD treatment center is not a reality for all parents. Skills offers all parents access to comprehensive assessment, the CARD curriculum, and a progress tracking system, no matter where they're located. It's really a pretty remarkable thing. And there are 3 bullet points that they want you to know. Skills offers your child access to a fully comprehensive curriculum, including lessons that target higher level complex behavior, such as perspective taking, theory of mind, and executive functions, all that yummy good stuff. If you already have an ABA provider, Skills will save your ABA provider time and help him or her be more efficient. So you can use it in conjunction with your ABA provider. And more ABA providers are using Skills. If you don't have an ABA provider, Skills is your gateway to accessing ABA-based intervention programs that were designed by experts. We have Dr. Adele Nadowski on the show every Thursday, and she was one of the co-creators of Skills. It is amazing. I use it on a daily basis. I use Skills. It is remarkable, and I want you to remember that there's an assessment portion that helps you to. There are thousands of lessons in Skills, but they're not all going to be appropriate for your child. Some of them are too difficult age-wise. Some of them are too difficult skill-wise. Some of them are things that you have to have a prerequisite before, otherwise you're not going to be successful, right? And you could go to college and get a degree in psychology, and then you could go to school and you could get your master's degree in psychology and get a degree in autism and a degree in applied behavior analysis. You could do all that and still have to spend hours sorting through what's appropriate for this child at this time. All of that is taken care of in the assessment portion. It narrows it down so that it's really manageable for anyone, and more ABA providers are using it for that because it's just time well spent. Let's say that you've got a child who's 2 who's on the spectrum. We are not going to do a lesson with them for something that's appropriate for an 8-year-old, right? Developmentally. We're just not going to do that. And let's say that this 2-year-old is developmentally at an age of 9 months developmentally. We're not going to do a lesson with them that's at the 2-year-old level until we get those 9-month lessons in. And what's incredible about Skills as a whole is that it has all of the skills that a child would need to know. So whether they are profoundly affected with autism and you're working on things that a 9-month-old milestone, it's there. But there are also skills that are there that are so high functioning that you don't have to be a person on the spectrum to benefit from them. And they're really remarkable, and you can be somebody who's 68 and be getting a benefit from them. So Skills, it's a remarkable thing, and you can, through referrals, get a free month. So again, the phone number 877-975-4559, extension 907, and that's how you can have the people who want to sign up go to that phone number and say your name, and then you can get a free month. It's a really cool thing that they're doing. All right, we're going to take a break and be back with more after these messages.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3. They shut down, and sometimes you think of the typical Rain Man movie. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up. She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys, and that was about it. We have a team of 7 volunteers, or 8 now. We have 8 volunteers, including my husband and I. And I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks. And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? Well, what Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down, and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing something, missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this?
Good job! Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know. In most manuals, you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for Skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new Skills and being, you know, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child, and suddenly, we joke about it all the time, like suddenly we have twins.
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I want to remind you there's only a couple more days that you can get those great t-shirts that we showed on Wednesday. And half of the money raised from the t-shirts benefits Autism Care and Treatment Today. These are great t-shirts that you can find on booster.com. And I think Emily will put up there it is. It says, I help kids piece the world together. Isn't that amazing? It's got the puzzle piece on it. Great thing to give to anybody who works with children on the spectrum, there is the site booster.com/autism-therapist. And half of that money goes to Autism Care and Treatment Today, so that'll go towards grants for families for things that they need. So think of all the good that you'll be doing. First of all, you'll be reinforcing somebody who works with an individual on the autism spectrum, plus you'll be helping to ensure that kids get grants. So we think that's a remarkable t-shirt and want to encourage you. You have till Friday to get those t-shirts. Okay, so somebody wrote in a question and a comment, and it's kind of kicking my keister a little bit, part of it. Okay, they said, hi, Shannon. You've done a wonderful thing here. I'm a teacher assistant for a K through first grade children with autism in the New Jersey public school, and I'm still learning about my autism, and I'm not a parent. I'm also an adult with a learning disability, and I volunteer as the corresponding secretary for the Learning Disabilities Association of New Jersey. Awesome. My question, I was wondering if you have any suggestions on how I can get some education on ABA and autism that is not expensive, or if possible, free. Any ideas on websites or books? And then they go on to say, and this is the part that's kind of kicking my keister, do you have any suggestions on how to have an assembly in our school for Autism Awareness Month? Okay, let's deal with the easy part first. Okay, first of all, congratulations, and that's absolutely wonderful. So I would suggest to you to get information and education on ABA and autism. If you're looking for free, ta-da, here we are. You can get an awful lot of information here on our site that is absolutely free, and look for specific topics, and we go over the basics of ABA, but that's a really basic understanding. If you're somebody who's working in a school and working with small children, and you want to learn more about ABA, then I want to encourage you to become a registered behavior technician. This is a new designation that's been put out by the BACB, the Board of, I'm going to get it wrong, because they are the ones who license board-certified behavior analysts. And I can't remember what BACB stands for. I think the Board of, I don't know, I'm not even going to try. Behavior Analyst Certification Board. That's it. Thank goodness for Emily. What would I do without her? Okay, so in any case, I want to encourage you to become a registered behavior technician. And it's a series of classes that you can take, and you sign up for them. Now, there is a cost, but you can pay for them individually. So over a period of time, you can pay for them, and it's really inexpensive. It's not very much at all. You can find those classes online at ibehavioraltraining.com. And when you go there, you'll see that it's extensive. They have all kinds of training for all kinds of people. You could take classes as a provider of ABA and get credits for things that you learn there. You can, as a teacher, you can go, and there are things that are just for teachers, like how do I manage a classroom? How do I teach a child on the spectrum how to deal with a fire drill? I mean, it's just great. And some of those, they start at $7.50 a piece. So really very affordable, and you can do it in little chunks at a time, right? Then there's a whole section just for parents, so that things are less jargon and really practical for things happening at the home. Now there's a whole separate place that says RBT across the top tabs, and that's for the registered behavior technician. And when you're done, I mean, there's a whole series of things that you do, and you take the classes, and but when you're done, it's a different certification that you have that makes you more valuable as an employee. Really pretty remarkable thing, and it's pretty brand spanking new. Again, go to ibehavioraltraining.com. That's not the only place that you can get the certification, but I am not aware of any place where you can get the whole certification online except for them. So ibehavioraltraining.com. And here's what I would like to suggest to you, that because I know what it's like when you're working with kids in a classroom, you don't get paid well for that, right? That's just a reality. But you might want to consider going to the people that you work for and saying, hey, I'd like to do this certification training. Could I get some tuition assistance? It isn't a lot to do the entire thing, but for one person to do it all in one chunk, it might be a lot for you, whereas for an organization, it might be worth it for them to pay for it or pay half of it for you. ibehavioraltraining.com, and then it will help you to get other jobs as well. You can't beat that. Good. And these people are amazing, absolutely amazing. Their trainings are good. They have ways that you can watch it over and over again, and you can take notes within the program. All you have to have is an internet connection. So I encourage you, ibehavioraltraining.com, and the RBT, Registered Behavior Technician tab is at the top. I got to be honest with you, it's something that I'm talking about doing. I feel like I've gotten all this training and all this information, and I want something to show for it, and so I'm thinking of doing the training myself. It kind of excites me. And if you want more information about that, we did an interview with Cecilia Knight a week and a half ago. You can look up Registered Behavior Technician, and you can see what Cecilia had to say about it. It's a very cool thing. Very, very cool. But would you do me a favor and write us know how you're doing? It's really remarkable what you're doing, and that you're interested in knowing more. That's a sign of a good teacher and a good teacher assistant. Really, really cool. All right, we are just about out of time here, but I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on tomorrow. We have Dr. Doreen Granpeche who will be here with us, and it's Ask Dr. Doreen, so you can write in questions for her. Don't forget to also send in questions for Eustacia Cutler for next Tuesday. Make sure you specify when you send them in who the question is for, so I don't mix them up, because we all know I'm capable of that. And then the second hour tomorrow, we have Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson with us for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We've got a bunch of news stories to cover for you tomorrow. And we also have a wonderful guest who's going to be here with us talking about music programs for kids on the autism spectrum. So a really remarkable day here. And while I'm talking about it, don't forget that on Thursday, we'll have Dr. Adele Nadowski with us. She's going to be talking about memory skills, how we build memory skills. Dr. Jonathan Tarbox is going to be here with us as well, going over some science and some research that's really cool. And we're going to have another dad from a different walk who's going to be talking about why he walks for his son. So all of that and ever so much more this week. And don't forget that next week, Eustacia Cutler, Temple Grandin's mom, will be here. Well, she's going to be talking with us via the phone, answering your questions. So make sure that you're sending those in ahead of time. Thank you to both my wonderful guests today. Ellen Sabin, great book, the Autism Acceptance book, Being a Friend to Someone with Autism, and to Carrie Mallory from Autism Will Not Define My Son. Make sure that you check out both of their sites. We're out of time. Please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.